right, guys. Welcome to a brand new episode of HelioPychosis podcast by Vikka Draziv. If you're watching us from YouTube, Vikka Draziv, Truth in Plain Sight. Welcome, guys. Do leave your comments, share, like, and subscribe if you're not. And do leave your question for us. We have some great guests tonight. And if you're watching from Flat Earth Research Network group, Fern. So welcome, guys, and do leave your comment and share the show in other groups. And if you're watching from Flat Earth Research Network and HelioPychosis, do the same. Please do comment, share, like, and guys, welcome. And one of the announcements I would like to make is that Flatten the Curve has been released with German subtitles, and it's already have around 20,000 views. Really great comments, great review about the movie, even in German. So the next subtitles we are waiting for is Spanish. So do check it out, guys, if you have not seen the Flatten the Curve, the documentary. Right, guys, going to our guests. Our first guest is my co-host, the protagonist of the Flatten the Curve, the helicopter pilot, my good friend, Rob Taylor. Rob Taylor, how are you, brother?
I'm doing great, Vika. Thank you. I want to say thank you to the hero of Flat Earth, Vikka Draziv, for putting this all together every time. Thank you, and thank you for everybody else for coming on.
We all are, brother. We all are. Always great to have you. Our next co-host is Jeannie Editor. Jeannie, welcome. How are you?
Hey guys, hi from New York. How's it going?
Welcome, brother.
Thank you.
Well,
Our
Thanks for
next
having me
guest.
again, Vika.
Welcome, bro. Our next guest. What would I say about our next guest? Like a drop of water, a constant drop of water can even break a rock. That's what I could say about our next guest. He's been so constant in his work with Flat Earth, and all his work during all these years. His work really complements our documentary, and the documentary complements his work. So, and his amazing book he has written, and I would like to thank him in advance before I introduce him for his participation in the documentary Flatten the Curve, and all the uploads, all the trailers, all the clips, everywhere. I could say that he's one of our second big collaborator of Truth Frequency Films and Vikka Draziv, Truth in Plain Sight. I would like you all to welcome my good friend Eddie Alankar. Eddie, welcome, brother.
Thank you, Vika. This was a very nice introduction from you. Thank you. Hello to all of you guys all over the flat plane. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm sorry I haven't had the chance of being here before, due to scheduling. But I'm glad to be here today with fellow flat earthers. It's really nice when we get together. We have a lot of things to talk about today, about flights, and
Yes.
So thank you for introduction, Vika.
It's so pleasure to have you. At least it's the first time, and no, we're gonna be having more time. So it's great to have you, brother. Yes, we have a couple of questions we have for you too. We're going to introduce our next guest. He's one of our special guests tonight. Like, he's an ex-USMC Airwing, and we have recently been came to know us, and he was ready to come over the show and share his experience as his profession and his experience as a flat earther. So it's a really pleasure to have him here. I hope I'm saying his name correct. Is Gutai J. Gutai, welcome, brother. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. I want to thank you, brothers, for the work you do, because it takes determination and resourcefulness, leadership. You guys are leaders. And you're very generous because it takes time, and you're giving your time, and we all appreciate that. And it takes courage too. It takes courage. So I just want to thank you for that. The flatten the curve is amazing to me. It's amazing to me. I could go on and on, but man, that's a nugget in my pocket, because it's tough sometimes to preach flat Earth. It's but boy, that's some ammunition we got now.
I think so
Thank you,
too.
brother. Thank you,
Thanks.
brother. Yeah, because I saw you. Yes, I saw your comment that the hardest people are the engineers, to crack that nuts. And I think you really felt that this documentary could help to wake such people, right?
Well, I did make that comment, but brother Rob Taylor, he's the exception. Rob, you're brilliant. You were brilliant. The way you broke it down in the documentary, it blew my mind, because I know these things in a general way. I'm hardcore flat earther, and it's a spiritual thing for me. It's spiritual.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. It's the truth of the earth, the truth of the spirit. It's truth. If it's truth, it's all truth. Yeah, all truth in one. There you go.
Yeah, and my brother, I just want to say this real quick. You break it down with such common sense and in a bold and frank way that I don't know how anyone can watch all you guys, but your segment in there, your segments in there, and not come away a flat earther. I don't know how they could do it.
Gutai, that's a powerful compliment, Gutai. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah, Rob was awesome.
I will say, Gutai, it is the Holy Spirit that has given me this experience. The Holy Spirit has placed me in 48 countries around the world, speaking 8 languages. I'm able to do this thanks to the Holy Spirit has given me truth, and now it's on me to share that truth with the rest of the world.
Amen, brother.
Thank you.
Power. That's the power of the Lord.
Yes, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Hey, good time. So it's great to have you here, brother. Zoo Scott Amo, welcome, brother. How you are doing? And we got Carl Fletcher, we got Jess Palmer, we got a few people in the chat. We have Gianni. This I can't say read the surname. We got Fisherman in a Box. Hey, how are you, Lon?
Hey, Lon.
Great that you are here. And I think Carl Fletcher had a question last time I think Eddie Allen Carr can shed some light on that. The question was about the Great South Circle route he was asking about. If I'm right, Carl, Eddie, could you shed some light on that? Great Circle routes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you know the parallel lines on the flat plane, correct?
Right.
Okay. So just picture this: you have a flat Earth map laying on your table, and you see all the parallel lines, and you pick 2 points. Let's say Lima in Peru to Nairobi in Africa, and then you just draw a straight line between those 2 points. Those 2 points are right at the equator. Okay. So you see this big circle, which is the equator, and then you trace the line. So that straight line is a shortcut because airplanes cannot fly along the equator. That would be a much wider turn from Lima to Nairobi. So they cut across the parallel lines. So these are what they call Great Circle routes. Okay, this is exactly what it is. They just call it Great Circle routes, but the Great Circle are actually the parallel lines, and the route is in between them. They cut through them. Okay, this is what the Great Circle routes are. Basically, this is it.
Nice one, Eddie. Thank you, Eddie. I hope, Carl, that answers your question. If anybody have more questions for anyone from the panel, please do leave it in the comments.
Yeah. Hey, Vic, I do have a video. I talk all about the Great Circle routes. Actually, I have 2 videos about it. If he goes to my channel, he can find like the Great Circle hoax.
Yeah, how is it called?
Okay, Great Circle hoax. That's the name of the video.
Yes.
I'll talk all about Great Circle routes.
Great. Thank you, Eddie Carl. So do check out Eddie's channel for that video. You're gonna find it. And other thing I wanted to ask was, did any one of you saw the latest documentary about the MS-13? That they are again thinking that they're gonna find the 777, this Malaysian airline. Did anyone have any update? Eddie, do you have any idea? Because I wanted to have a question regarding that too.
Yeah, MH370, right?
The last one.
Yes, I heard that they found the wreckage like deep inside, I think, the west coast of Australia. I just saw a short clip about it, and they are not sure whether it is MH370 or not, but they did find a wreckage of an airplane deep inside the trenches on the west coast of Australia.
Yeah, right. So the thing is that a week before the last documentary had come out about MS-13, that they finally, after 8 years, they think they have found the spot where is the plane. But the point here is these people are supposed to have satellites. Okay, they could pinpoint the last tortoise which got extinct. They could pinpoint and find it out. They could find anything millions of lights away. They can find microbes on Mars. They can do everything, but they cannot find a 777, which have almost 8 years. They're trying to find. Okay, the thing is, they finally think they are onto something. Why? You know why? Because of some technology, old tech called ham radio. Maybe Rob can know about it, or maybe Gutai. Okay, so just because of that ham radio network, they are pinpointing the point of crash. So you imagine, so these satellites are obsolete. They don't really exist because finally coming to old tech to find out where the plane could have crashed, to a ham radio network. These are local radio networks which fishermen and people on coast use them.
Unofficial radio network. Here's another thing. Isn't it interesting? They're magically finding this aircraft, kind of like they find dinosaurs exactly where they want them. Right?
Exactly.
It looks a lot like a dinosaur to me.
Is it true that ham radio doesn't work on a globe, though?
That is correct. It's every radio's line of sight. Okay, but they will bounce it. They can bounce it off of the firmament. Okay. But the nature of ham radio, it's unofficial. There's nothing. It's not direction finding. They don't use it. For them to say ham radio, it's like comparing. How would we compare it? AM is radio. It's kind of like a static electricity. You got an antenna and it broadcasts an umbrella around it.
Okay.
Versus a radar is a specific device that shoots electronic beams out and it records them back. In other words, for them to say that they're using ham radio to locate an aircraft, that's kind of like saying they're using AM radio to direction find, or
exactly. That's
okay.
So where the hell is all this money going that is supposed to track the satellites and all the searches and everything? Where is the money going? Where is the tax dollars going? When in the end they have to go old tech, and that's really in itself shows how many loopholes this space fake history and satellite have in this. If really people look into it, it's totally a mock-up. We even don't know if it's real or what is happening with the situation with MS-17, you know. So, and these people are getting excited with this. It's just funny, man. It's just hilarious.
My brothers, are they Satelloons? Rob might know. I defer everything to Rob, technically. He's the man. Rob, what about Satelloons, brother?
Yes, sir. Look up the Corona program in the early 1950s. They were Satelloons, absolutely. Look up satellite crash on the internet. Just look up satellite crash. Plenty of them are falling. One fell in Wisconsin a couple months ago in somebody's backyard. Okay, they fall in all the time. Yeah. So here, and the earliest quote satellites. Oh, and by the way, does everybody know the definition of satellite according to the U.S. government? Is anybody familiar with the very technical definition of satellite? Does anybody know it? Okay, let me
No.
share it. Now, I'm going to share with you the definition of satellite from the U.S. military. And why am I saying this? Because there I was at the U.S. Army's graduate school. I was an instructor learning about space and all of that. Okay, and especially with U.S. Army aviation, we dealt with satellites all the time. So I'm going to share with you now the definition. The definition of satellite is anything that operates in the air above another surface. That's it. A satellite is something that operates in the air above something else. So those little drones that fly around, those match the definition of satellite. A bird is a satellite of a parking lot below it. Now we know what those nanobots are. Those also match the definition, the U.S. government definition of satellite. Okay, a bird flying in the air, a balloon, like a passenger balloon, a pleasure balloon, is a satellite. So there you go. Now everybody knows when the U.S. government uses the word satellite, all they mean by their technical definition is anything that operates in the air above another object. A mosquito, a bird, a swallow bird,
Mosquito.
A beetle.
Yeah, absolutely. A beetle flying along, a bumblebee, right?
A moon.
A hummingbird, right? Those are satellites above another surface.
What I would like to add about satelloons, is like what's happening with communications is like normally the places we have towers, and that's why we have the signals of whatever internet could be anything. So what other satelloons are doing? The satelloons are just towers, floating towers to reach places where it's not possible to take all that equipment and tower and build a tower in places. So in the end, it's just floating towers doing the same thing. What a tower does is to retransmit the signals in a straight line, or even bouncing, because they even use tropospheric bouncing. Like, it's also an old tech, the radio technology, because there are many questions by flat earthers about these dish antennas facing towards the sky. Okay, but it's not facing to any satellite. It's just doing bouncing the signals of the layer. I don't know if I'm right. It's tropospheric scattering is the right word. Tropospheric scattering. Yeah, the F1. Yeah, the F1 layer is the one which have been used from all time. So it's the same old technology that the streaming, all the channels, all those TV channels are using. So more or less it's the same thing. And the most are satelloons, how you said too.
Yes, let me add here. If anybody wants to look this up on the internet, look up Operation Corona. Now, here's what happened during that time. In the late 40s and 50s, after the Western cabal, or excuse me, after the Moscow cabal split from the Allied cabal, Moscow, here's the reason, everybody. The Cold War happened because Moscow was trying to dominate the world, and it was trying to dominate the West. And so instead of, obviously, London and New York and Wall Street, we're not gonna bow to Moscow. That's where the Cold War happened, or it's either that or they designed it deliberately just to split up their spheres of influence. Okay. What the U.S. and allies were doing, they were setting up these satelloons that you mentioned. Yes, they would put them in way high in the air with cameras looking down to scan all of Russia, what they could. It was aerial spy balloons. Okay, they were really high, and as they came over Alaska and down into the Pacific Ocean, the U.S. Navy would send out planes and catch them, literally catch them out of the sky. And it was a highly complex operation. These pilots would train days and weeks to catch these things because they wanted to catch them. So, because if they hit the ocean and sink, well, then they've lost all that data. So again, put this in your mind. Probably in Europe, they'd put these these balloons up in the air with cameras on them, and they would float through the jet streams, and they would come down over the Pacific Ocean, and the planes would go out and catch them. Literally catch them out of the sky. It was called Operation Corona. Look it up. I have a multi-page PDF that talks all about it. That's how I know what I'm talking about. So that's one thing they do. Here's another use for it. I know another guy. His name is Heath Gephardt. He's flown on overseas landings. Now here's what they will use: these balloons as observation for approaches. For example, for Heath to land on an island, for example, he would have to in order to execute his approach, he would have to have coverage by at least 4 beacons from the sky. Now we all know that these are satellites. I mean, they're satellites, but they're balloons. His radio on his airplane had to have contact from at least 4 of these floating balloons so he could execute his approach. Now, you and I know that sometimes these balloons are getting blown around in the air, so they're unreliable. So he had to have at least 4 of them at a time so they could provide coverage for his approach. So there's at least 2 additional uses for these things that we weren't aware of. Hopefully I've informed you guys. They use these balloons up there for multiple uses. There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's I want to say hello to Elvin Gold. He's in the chat. Then there is Mark Hollander. Hey, Mark. Guys, make sure after this show you join Mark Hollander. He has an amazing live after with 3 authors: Mark Hollander, Eddie Alankar, and Billy Zigores, and on Flatten the Curve and the experience in Flatten the Curve. So make sure after this show you join Ferret Radio Live with Mark Hollander. Welcome. It's great to have you, Mark, the chat. And then we have got Real Truth Seekers. Hey, so a big hello to everyone on Truth Seekers. And thank you, Marcio. People do check out realtruthseekers.com or .net. The shortest link is rts.video. And thank you for the events and to the whole team. And then we got Cindy Holland. A big hello and shout out to Cindy. I think everybody know who is Cindy Holland. She's been many years in the Truthers community. She's also an ex-NASA employee. And yes, for sure, Cindy, we're going to have you soon here too on the panel. A big shout out to you and to your husband, Josh, that is almost becoming a flat earther because of Flatten the Curve. So it really means a lot to us, Cindy. So a big hello to you and Josh. And then we have got, there's a question we have got from, what was the question? From Elvin Gold. At which point does a new Marine realize it's not a spinning ball of water floating in space? I think that goes for you, Gutai.
At what point did I realize
at what point does a new Marine realize it's not a spinning ball of water floating in space?
Well, I guess he's asking.
At what point?
Well,
yeah, in general. He's asking in general, but if you want to give your experience with it too.
Ironically, my brothers, the symbol of the Marine Corps is a globe. So, I mean, it's kind of an ironic deal, the eagle, globe, and anchor. But, I mean, when I realized it was, a couple, maybe few years after I got out of the Marines. So, I mean, I'm not sure how to answer that question. Most Marines probably think it is a spinning ball. I don't know.
So yeah, maybe after the half of the show, when we have half the way, we're gonna you could let us know your experience, how you started, how you realized the flat Earth, and that would be after the break. So till we're gonna do more questions right now. The next question is, one moment, there was another.
It's a supremely individual process. It's almost like coming to acknowledge Jesus Christ and what he did as Savior for the world. Literally, it's something that big, and it's really an individual process because nothing in government or military or anything references Jesus Christ or the full truth of the earth. So therefore, it requires a personal study. There is no path that leads to it. Although there are hundreds of paths available, we have each person comes to the knowledge on their own, in their own way, in their own path. That should answer it.
Absolutely.
Amen, brother.
And even though a lot of them are very similar, that people get tired of hearing about the flat Earth and how ridiculous it is, and they go right to NASA typically to prove how wrong everyone is. And I'll always say, if you could come in here without defending these people, you can do really well.
Voila. In other words, study flat Earth without saying NASA.
Yeah. They don't need to be defended, do they? They got their stuff. Just put that down for a second. Yeah. And look at what's really going on. Just give it a chance. That's really, I like to get people over to the fence and have them look. I can't change anybody's mind about anything, but I can show you some things that are going to make you walk away looking at this stuff very peculiar.
They're a bunch of liars anyway. NASA's a bunch of liars anyway. We got all the evidence of it.
Yeah. It's kind of like, thanks, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
The biggest giveaway. Yeah, the biggest giveaway, even if you're a marine or in between the ocean or sea, the flat level water it should be a biggest giveaway, you know. We don't need to be in the middle of the sea to see how flat is it, you know. Right, good time.
Absolutely. You can stand on any beach in the world and see how flat and level the horizon is. It's obvious to me, of course, now it is. When you think about it.
Now it is.
Right.
When we see the world, now I'm going to throw this out again. How many times did Jesus tell us, unless a man or woman become as a little child?
Yes.
And that means not childlike ignorance, but childlike simplicity, meaning not brainwashed and not overcome by the philosophies and the lies of men and the universities and the Sadducees and Pharisees and Sadducees, right? Jesus told us, like you said right there, Gutai, unless we see the world with childlike simplicity, we will never see truth. We will never see the kingdom of God. There you go.
Amen, brother. You know, we're covered in illusion. You said brainwashing. I say brain dirtying. If something's dirty, it's brainwashed. But what they do is they brain dirty. They contaminate our pure consciousness with their nonsensical, atheistic. They're actually envious of God. They want to be God, and they want to control.
Well said.
And everything is a cheap ripoff of what we could really be doing with communicating, sending pictures across the world, and things like that. I think it's the cheap ripoff of what we could really have in this world.
Well said.
Animals talking. Thank you.
Be so much more than what it is now. Yes.
And like you brothers all know, everything they say is an absurdity. Every law of physics has to be violated for their monkey ball model to be anywhere near a reality. Rob said it beautifully. It's an absurdity that they say. The way I put it is like they actually pretend that a gas, the atmosphere, that becomes a solid and behaves as a solid and spins with their so-called solid rock dirt pair. It's absurd. It's absurd.
Everything about it is absurd. It's physically, scientifically absurd. Yes, it is.
And when you get to the top of the Himalayas, there's less of it there and the same amount of gravity. Is that right?
Exactly right. Yeah. How does that work?
How does that work?
Yeah. Well, Vika said it. Vika, you said it best in your beautiful, I'll call it the closing, where you were showing the tablelands and the flatlands and the savannas and the basins, and it was beautiful the way you were putting it. And you said it perfectly. You said it's the Globers that need to prove their nonsense. We don't need to prove it. We can see it.
Right.
Every word that I've said there about the plains, the Great Plains, the lowlands, every word could be checked, back checked. And these words are from Britannica.com. These words are from Wikipedia. And go and find out the meaning of these words. Okay, every word is disguised and it means flatlands, plains, so these are not, and the distances, everything is mentioned in Wikipedia, Britannica.com, in every places. These words and these distances are from the mainstream media. Okay, so if they think the earth is round, the first thing they need to do is change that information. That's the most basic information that they are giving there by their own self, by science, that everything is plain, flatlands, salt flats, mud flats, Arctic tundra. Tundra means treeless plains. Nullarbor plains means without tree plains in Australia. Ice sheets. What is a sheet? A sheet is a flat sheet. Savanna. Savanna in Spanish means a bed sheet. Okay, what is basin? Amazon basin, Erie basin in Australia. Okay, every word could be looked into. Okay, it's real science from their own mouth, which they cannot deny it, they cannot change it. Okay, so if the globals want, they can try and go behind Google and Wikipedia and Britannica.com and change that information, that the European plain starts from the north of France and finish in end east of Russia. That is 5,000 miles. Okay, two plains, European plains and Russian plains combined. We could go in any direction. We could go north to the subarctics, to Canada, to the Great Plains, to the US, till all the way to down to the Amazon basin, to the flat lands of Chile and everything. Every direction. Okay, that's awesome.
That is why I wrote all that down, all those places from the movie, just to have them on paper to look at them and rattle them off like you just did. That was wonderful.
Carl Fletcher says, while driving down the road late night out in the middle of nowhere, trying to find a radio station, and you pick up a station 1,000 miles away. You're right, because there was a Italian scientist who did a radio transmission from Atlantic to USA. I don't remember the name, but that transmission is more than 1,000 miles, and it's not possible on a globe because there is no bending and curving of those radio signals. Right, Rob? Right, Dudai? Or Eddie, you want to add something?
Hey, Vic, are you talking about Marconi, the Italian guy?
Yes, right. Yes.
Marconi, right? I don't know his first name,
yes.
but something Marconi.
Yes.
And nowadays,
I don't know if it's 12. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, nowadays, I'm an old timer, forgive me, but nowadays they have the laser tech. And Brother Rob can probably talk about, I mean, I've been reading about them. They got a laser rail gun technology where the laser sight, it's straight line sight. I don't know if they had him even when he was in, but I know it's a newer thing. Maybe he can elaborate on that.
I think it's magnetic, but I'm not sure.
He could be.
But
I don't know if Rob's still there.
Has an incredible line of sight. I forget off the top of my head, 200 miles, something like that.
So, but that's straight line then?
Line of sight as far as
line
as
of
long
sight.
as
That's my
straight
point.
ahead, right?
That's amazing.
But, yeah.
And,
what about sonar too? Is this like for subs? Isn't that 4 miles away? If
Oh, yeah.
Behind the curve.
This is Rob. Can you hear me?
Hey, there you go, brother.
Yeah.
There you are.
I can talk about the railgun. That's a different topic, but my capstone project of my electric engineering course at West Point, I was on a team that literally built a railgun. So I can talk about how it works. Okay, so I haven't fired one. I mean, I was on the team, but anyway, and I knew this. What I'm going to tell you about this Marconi radio, this is 8th grade material. I mean,
Guglielmo Marconi.
Talking about this in 8th grade. During certain atmospheric conditions, imagine the AM radio. Okay, if that signal bounces off the firmament, it will bounce off at the angle, and then it will broadcast and have a huge footprint where anyone else can hear it. It's literally about tropospheric scattering that Vikka mentioned earlier. Literally, if you get it right, you'll bounce your radio signal off of the.
It's gone. Yeah, so the F1 layer, you can bounce it off the F1 layer, and it also depends on the broadcasting station, because some of these dishes are facing towards central dishes. Okay, that's why there are some are looking in different directions because of their broadcasting center that is transmitting to the upper layer and then reaching the rest of the dishes. Yeah, go ahead, Rob. You got cut out. Continue, please.
Okay, that was about it. I just wanted to bring up that under certain atmospheric conditions, there's a lot of variables. Meaning, is there a cloud layer? Is there a static storm? Is there a lot of ambient static electricity? When conditions are right, certain radio signals can bounce off the firmament in tropospheric scattering, which you mentioned, Vikka. It'll hit the firmament and broadcast out. What also is a variable is the strength of the original signal. If it's strong enough and it bounces off the firmament, well, it can travel for a long path, but only if it's strong enough, if you see what I mean. There's a lot of variables involved. But when conditions are right, that signal can go for a long way, lot farther than normal.
Right. So we've got, who else we have got in the chat? Krista Givons, hey, welcome. Who else we got? Wide Awake, hey, welcome, brother. I started out trying to disprove it, but instead found it to be a level playing field. Yeah, that's what happens, you know. We try to debunk it, and in the end, we become a flat earther.
Here's one more. This occurred to me just now. Here's another flat Earth name that we normally haven't talked about. The guy's name is Captain Obvious.
I've heard of him, yeah.
Captain Obvious. He talks about the tropospheric scattering. He's a former Navy guy. He's a former Navy intelligence guy. He's very, very good in the flat Earth community. He's so good that YouTube hijacked his name. YouTube has turned his name, Captain Obvious, into this half idiot dork travel agent guy. Captain Obvious is now this travel agent. In other words, they salted his name off of YouTube, and they even rebranded his name into something else, so nobody can find him anymore. Guess what? You can find his videos on BitChute, or you can go to 153news.net. You could, if you look for Captain Obvious videos, you can find them. He talks about tropospheric scattering specifically. He talks a lot about it. I'm just sharing that with everybody.
Yeah, and the international data as they transfer through the cables, that's what also the people think the satellite is doing the communication thing, but the most of the information is passing through the cables. From being the first telegraph to the now fiber optic cables, they're doing the same job. And once it comes to the land, that signals, then it's been transmitted through this dish antenna or the Wi-Fi towers. But the real exchange of data between overseas are happening due to this cable. Again, satellites are obsolete. Satelloons, satellites are obsolete. Ham radio, satellites are obsolete. So we are still waiting to find a real use of the satellites where they are taking so much tax dollars, you know. And again, the planes, they cannot. They're using, as Joshua Silva said in the documentary, you know, they're using any other method than the satellite to track the planes, you know.
Yeah,
so exactly. Dead reckoning, as we said, dead reckoning. So there is no use of satellites.
Indeed, they're a myth. They don't exist. Arthur C. Clarke invented them. It's just an idea. It's like it's no different than Santa Claus. Satellites are Santa Claus.
Right, we've done so many videos on that about satellites. So some of it's useless as it is. It's just, and people believe it, the CGI, and and pay a.
They don't look into it. They don't research.
I have a question about satellites. I've been
Right.
wondering if anybody out there knows how to track the moon backwards. I would really love to know where exactly Washington D.C. was in coordination with the moon when they called from the White House, and how did they do that?
That's a great idea. Where was the moon exactly?
Where what was that? It was it around?
Yeah.
How'd they do? I don't know. It's just been
Was it
bugging me,
overhead
that one.
on the other side of the earth? Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I remember that.
Were you able to look outside your door and see the moon now? I don't know where you are, but
I don't remember exactly, but I remember seeing the Stanley Kubrick joke of a
version of it.
Oh my God! Even as a child, I think I was 13 then. Even as
You
a
realize
child, it looked fake to me.
Okay, great. Hey, look, watch the videos of the dune buggy driving around, and you see it's a mannequin. It appears to be a mannequin,
Yeah,
and watch the dirt that the tires kick up fall right back down to the ground in 1/6 gravity. Absolutely impossible. That video is fake.
There you
I
go.
think they're all fake.
That video is so fake.
One way or the other. Good
But anyway,
point,
if
though.
anybody out there knows how to track the moon backwards, would you please come back with an answer with that one?
I knew about a site where you could do that with the sun. So definitely there have to be some site about the moon too. You could
Gotta
see in the
be.
past and present and in the future. In every
Yeah.
date, every hour, you can put in every. So I think there have to be.
Right.
I was commenting to Rob too, that we should find out this site. Could really help for experiments for flat earthers to really track more or less what we perceive the sun, where is it exactly 90 degree about your head and or over the horizon. So it's a good way also to,
Current.
yeah.
If everybody
Eddie,
could get together at
Yeah,
one
yeah.
yep.
certain time, once a week, or something like that.
Eddie, anything you want to add about the new flights they're having, those long flights, they're just
Yes, as a matter of fact, I want to tell you guys something really important. They are planning something for April the 22nd, and I know they will pull this off because they have tricks, they have simulation, they have drones that can fly up to 20 hours or 24 hours. So they are planning a flight from Buenos Aires to Perth over Antarctica. Now, we know Earth is not a globe. We know this flight is not possible on the globe. But I think they will pull this off by flying a drone and simulating. Okay, they fly the drone deep along the coast of Antarctica, all the way to Perth, and they will pull this off. They will simulate this as a flight on the globe. Okay, April 22nd, they are planning a flight from Buenos Aires to Perth. So be aware
is that
because it's gonna make the news.
the pilot? Is a Globy pilot who was planning this, and he wanted to ask some flat earthers to join him? Is the same guy?
No, it's not the same guy. Actually they are. It's like a travel agents. They are promoting. They are, promoting these flights. I got the news this morning. Actually, someone sent me the prints from the cell phone. It's not that guy. It's not Kelsey. Kelsey, he's not that guy. But they are planning, and they will pull this off by simulating a flight. Perhaps flying a drone along the coast of Antarctica all the way from South America to Australia to Perth, and then simulate that into a globe and say they made it. That's my
If
idea.
they can fake everything with CGI, Eddie, you think they can do this? They're gonna do it, and many gonna applaud, and many gonna think that the
I
Earth is
bet
a
you're
globe.
right.
But
Well, they fake the moon landing. They faked all the
They
rovers
faked the
on
sun
Mars.
landing.
Yes, they fake all. They can fake anything. Especially this that's made here on Earth. It's not in space. So of course they can. They have the ability to fake these flights. They will do that. They will pull this off.
all right, guys, we're gonna have a
I
short
think you're
break, two
right.
minutes, and when we come back, maybe Gutai can go a little bit deeper to share what he wants to share a little bit about how he become flat earthers and a little bit about his whatever he wants to add. Yeah, we're just going to take a short 2 minutes break. All right.
All right, great.
There is nothing you cannot be, there's nothing you cannot do, there's nothing you cannot have. You are the most magnificent, the most remarkable, the most splendid being God has ever created. Who could reject such wondrous magnificence? But you do not know who you are. And you think you are a great deal less. I tell you this, you are your own rule maker. You set the guidelines. And you decide how well you have done, how well you are doing. For you are the one who decided who and what you really are, and who you want to be. The process of creation starts with thought, an idea, conception, visualization. Everything you see was once someone's idea. Nothing exists in your world that did not first exist as pure thought. Next comes the word. Everything you say is a thought expressed. It is creative and sends forth creative energy into the universe. Next comes action. Actions are words moving. Words are thoughts expressed. Thoughts are ideas formed. Go first to your highest thought about yourself. Imagine the you that you would be if you lived that thought every day. Imagine what you would think, do, and say, and how you would respond to what others do and say. This whole process is a massive move to consciousness. What you will find out if you undertake this challenge is that you've spent half your life unconscious. That is to say, unaware on a conscious level of what you are choosing in the way of thoughts, words, and deeds until you experience the aftermath of them. Then when you experience these results, you deny that your thoughts, words, and deeds had anything to do with them.
I want to remind you to continue to dream and dream big.
Yes, sir. Dream big. That's Flatten the Curve for you all. If you have not checked, do check Flatten the Curve. It's just waking up so many people, and that's one of the reasons we have Gutai J here today. It's such a pleasure to have him. That he saw the Flatten the Curve and made up his mind that yes, he even needs to share his part as a flat earther, as a professional. So, Gutai, welcome, brother, again. And yes, please do share with us a little bit what you want to share.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. I'm going to keep it short because I'm learning a lot listening to the other brothers that have far more knowledge than I do, especially the technical aspect of it. I mean, I was in the Marine Corps. I was in the Air Wing. It was way back in the day when I joined. You know, they give you an aptitude test. And, you know, I was smart enough to put the round peg in the round hole and a square peg in a square hole. I wanted to be a grunt. I wanted to be infantry brother. They sent me to the Air Wing, and I did my thing there. I'm a big brother. I'm a big Marine. So, I mean, I basically guarded people, places, and things. Brother Rob's the brother to talk technology with. That ain't my thing. But I will say this. I want to tell you how the seed of flat earth was first planted in me. I was born in 1956. I remember the Gulf of Tonkin, and of course we know now what that was really about. I thought it was all crazy, the Southeast Asia deal. Then I remember they used to gun down. Yeah, I'm saying the deep state did this, the Illuminatis. I'm a big picture general guy, so I talk about the demons. And they gunned down President Kennedy, right? Then they gunned down Martin Luther King. Then they gunned down Bobby Kennedy. And then they did what else was all queer they did? And I use that term old school. Oh, they passed this Roe v. Wade deal, and I'm looking at all of this, and I'm thinking, this is some nonsense. Who are these demons that are running everything? To make a longer story short, because I do want to hear the other part. I did join the Marines, la da dee, la da da, the fall of Saigon, the evac, this and that. And then there was the MIA and the POW situation. It was all just so dirty to me. I left with a bad, I left shortly after that. I got out. I was 19 when I got out. I was just a kid.
Oh, wow.
I left with a bad taste in my mouth. And I was a ship fitter too. After that, that's the sub thing you and me were talking about, Vikka. I was a ship fitter for a short time. That didn't fit me well. That was an electric boat in Groton, Connecticut, a General Dynamics deal. I don't know. They made Ohio class subs and whatever. Anyway, I'm bouncing around after that. And I knew deep in my soul and my heart that I had to find the Lord. I had to establish a personal relationship with the Lord, because I was depressed. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where I was going. I looked at the world and it made me kind of nauseous. I was depressed. So I bounced around and I found some spiritual brothers, and I started reading my Bible again, and I came across some Vedic literatures, and that's where the seed of flat earth was first planted in me, from the biblical source and also from the Vedas. In the Vedas, they have a beautiful way of putting, they talk about the pole star. Of course, it's a flat, extended plane earth, vast extended. I mean, it's vast. And it's stationary and flat, just like in a Bible. And they talk about the pole star. They call it Dhruvaloka, the pole star.
Right.
They talk about the luminaries that revolve around the pole star, and they describe it as a chandelier. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it was such a beautiful way to look at it. And I know it's a clockwork and all that, but it was so. Then I'm looking up at the night sky at God's chandelier, and I'm starting to get some realizations. So I did a lot of fasting. I actually became a vegetarian. I mean, that's in the Bible too. There's passages. I just started developing a relationship with God, and my depression left. My life turned around. The Lord blessed me with 6 beautiful, amazing children. Now I have 7 grandchildren so far, and it's amazing. And it turned my life around. And then, of course, maybe 7 years ago or so, I started seeing a lot of the brothers popping up with the flat earth videos and everything, and it rekindled my interest, because I went on with my life. I didn't really think too much about it, but the seed had already been planted. So I went easy. I went overnight when I started seeing these flat earth videos and this and that. So anyway, that's my story. It's a spiritual one. I think you brothers are spiritual warriors. I think you're heroic leaders.
Thank you.
Ahead.
Right. That's the important part about flat earth, that no problem from which faith or wherever you come, you find your creator, and you find that connection with the creator through flat earth. And that's why I also have a question with you, that you were into Bible, then you also saw the Vedic, you saw the Christ conscious, and then you saw the Krishna conscious. Would you like to shed some light how you got into that different culture consciousness, and how did that happen? Because if you want to share.
Well, I mean, ultimately, my view is, this is my personal view, and religion's a tricky topic to get into for some people, but I'm not a sectarian brother so much, but I hold Jesus in my heart, just like you good brothers do. And the Vedic literatures do not contradict. If you know how to read them, they don't contradict. And that's why the flat earth was the same virtually. But I ran into some brothers from all different, like I said, I was searching, brothers. I was depressed. I had issues. I was going to get in trouble, but the Lord saved me. The Lord saved me.
Thank God. Happy to hear
Exactly.
that.
So,
Brothers.
awesome, brother. Awesome.
I would only share
Yeah,
this with brothers like you. I don't share this with anybody.
Right.
I'm sharing it with you, brothers.
Thank you.
Well said. And
Exactly,
the Lord
yeah.
did say, you went looking for truth, and the Lord gave it to you on His own time. Here's my short experience just along this line, Gutai. I went in 1991. I begged the Lord for truth. I mean, on my knees for months at a time. Guess what? That was 1991. I did not learn flat Earth until 2015. Almost 25 years later.
Never give up.
A long time. There you go. Right?
Yeah, no, the Lord works in His time. Mystical ways.
Yes, sir. Exactly. Hey, I want to throw out something. Over the break, I looked on the internet. I did a search for definition of satellite. U.S. government definition of satellite. I even went to a DOD, Department of Defense, a dictionary of all the DOD terms. I looked for satellite. A definition of satellite, it does not exist. The U.S. government does not give a definition of satellite. You know what that means? They're lying. It's
They
a
don't
lie.
They don't have them.
There you go. That's incredible. We can't even if I can't find a definition of satellite in a short 30-second internet search, then they're lying about it. There you go. That's fabulous. That's fact right there.
That's pretty great. They don't have one.
There you go. The proof is in the pudding, we say. If they don't give us a definition of satellite, then we can't use that term. They're using a term that they don't provide a definition for. Here's something if we're analyzing anything, especially in political science or history or finances or in a court of law, in a legal court of law, if we use a term and if somebody uses a term and they fail to define that term, then that term is erroneous. They cannot use it. It's defunct. It is not a legal term. What did we just find? That we don't have a definition of satellite.
So where'd that money go?
Voila.
And
how many millions?
Yeah, they can't even define. They can't even define. Yeah. And it's also the GPS and many things connects with satellite that doesn't work. The GPS, what is really happening, what with GPS, because the flat map that is used with my understanding about GPS, that is also supposed to be the fake satellite. What they use for is this with a flat map and the electromagnetic from the center of the Earth, because a compass points to the center of the Earth. That's the most basic instrument built by the humans, one of the more ancient to navigate with a compass and a flat chart or map. So what, according to my understanding about a GPS, is an electronic pre-installed map with an electronic compass used with the technology of Edwin Hall technology of these sensors, which can sense these electromagnetic vibrations coming from the center of the Earth and showing you the exact position. Okay, so what the most of the devices, the smartphone and the GPS, the so-called GPS, is nothing but a chart and an electronic compass that's showing you your position wherever you are in the world. No problem if you don't even have internet. If you have a download version, say Google Earth, and you download that area, so even if you don't have internet, you can use that part of Google Earth or Google Map and go anywhere. Okay, so that's because it's working on that tag. Well, that's what I understand. So GPS is really not global positioning system. It's the God's positioning system, because God is giving you your position on this flat map with that center, electromagnetic center that is emitting that energy where we could locate. That's my understanding. Yeah. If you want to add something.
The compasses wouldn't work on a ball. Not the way they have magnetism.
Yeah, go ahead. I just jumped out by mistake.
Well, I was saying that compasses couldn't work the way they describe magnetism coming out of the center of the Earth. I think a magnet it would cause a magnet.
Okay. Yes, you're right. Their definition of the globe defies the operation of the compass. The compass depends on that flat surface.
Yeah, it's got to be flat to work.
Yes, exactly.
Or else it would point towards your feet.
Here's another one. Anybody who's used a compass before, if we tilt that compass so it's not precisely flat, then needle doesn't work. The needle stops turning. There you go.
Here's a trick you could do. You could take like a sewing needle or a toothpick and drop it on a little dish of water. And
yep.
A sewing needle works better because you can magnetize it. But as long as it'll flow.
The lodestone, the lodestone is one of the stones the ancient used to make the compass. The first compass was made like in a spoon shape out of lodestone, which was kept on a flat metal, and it used to spin and locate the north. Okay, that was the most ancient compass that they had, and that's the spoon shape is exactly as the Polaris around the swastika, how it makes the shape of swastika. Okay, that's the constellation in the north that represents that spoon shape of the lodestone from where the compass has been made. Yep.
The swastika being so important really ought to show people how they lie, and everything's a lie to us. That they demonize that so badly, and it doesn't mean what they're trying to say. Maybe they used it for that, but it's not what it was intended for. That's that symbol.
Yeah, absolutely. Having lived 3 years in Asia myself, Korea for 3 years, the swastika is everywhere.
Really?
It's both sides. It's both ways.
Right, left to right, right to left, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And it means exactly what Vikka's talking about. It is a symbol of we call it the Big Dipper, which is the big spoon. Exactly what Vikka's talking about.
Dumps out to the North Star.
Absolutely. It talks about the globe, or I'm sorry, the pole star, pole star Polaris. That's what it's a representation of that, which is really in turn it's a representation of the creator and the love of God. That's what it is. It's a representation of the creator.
Absolutely. Hey, Brother Gene. Brother Gene, excuse me for cutting in, but you're right. They invert everything. The demons do. They invert everything.
Everything. So we're looking right at this stuff, and we can hardly tell.
And that's
exactly because the different position during the different season is what makes that swastika moving around the Polaris.
Yes.
So you matter how important information is there about the season right above our head, but it's been demonized because we don't want to call the name by them, so nobody's going to look at it. It's supposed to be one of the most harmonic symbols in Asia, right, Gutai?
Yes.
Swastika.
It's a Vedic symbol as well. It's used throughout all of what once was Greater India. If you look up the history, I mean, there was a vast Vedic empire, and the symbols, like you say, again, you're talking about a symbol in God's magnificent chandelier. Next time you're out in a beautiful clear night at midnight, look up at the sky, and it's around Dhruvaloka, they call it a pole star, Dhruvaloka. Around Dhruvaloka, the constellations, the luminaries in the sky revolve, and it's like a gorgeous chandelier. It's spiritual. It's all spiritual, and they're trying to pervert it all. They invert it all. They want to sow chaos and confusion in the poor souls' minds that don't have the innate ability. Actually, we all have the innate ability, but some people don't exercise their free will enough. You brothers are warriors, spiritual warriors, so you do. But I feel bad for people that don't. We have an internal gyroscope. Even we know when we're moving. We know if we're upside down.
That's the vestibular system.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, we do.
And as I was saying to Rob, yeah, go ahead, Gene.
I would like to add to the compass built in. We also can wake up at any single moment of the night. If you program yourself to wake up at 3:42 at 15 seconds, you'll do that if you're serious enough. And a lot of you guys might know that, but we have a clock inside, and
takes practice. You can do it. Yep.
Yeah. No, if you practice a little bit, and if something's important enough, if you must wake up at a certain time, you'll do it. I've done it.
What I wanted to add was to Rutai was like me and Rob also was discussing this, that the Vedic culture, and you will also agree that the Vedic culture have so much in detail the flat earth cosmology that we cannot grasp, our brains cannot grasp. There is so much of information about flat earth cosmology that needs to be decoded.
Yeah.
So it's in so much detail, as you say, about the chandelier, the Bhumandala, the subterranean planets. The first subterranean planet in the Vedic culture is called Atala, Atala, Atala. So where is the origin of the word? Now, where does Atlantic come from? It comes from the word Atala, right? So Atlantic could be the first subterranean realm up below us, so like this, there are many information if you read, but you cannot grasp, as I said, we cannot grasp how much information is there also in the flat earth cosmology of the Vedic culture. That I was also commenting about the heights of the luminaries, as the sun, the days of the sun, the days of the week is the actual altitude of the luminaries, as I was commenting, like the sun being the lowest as Sunday, the moon being the next moon day, the Mars being the next. So it just goes on, and each are supposed to be in their own layers. The stars are supposed to be in their own layers. So the Saturn being the highest layer and the furthest away, and the Polaris being the top. So it's like this, it's endless of information right there if you want to really search. So yeah, it's a really interesting combination.
Absolutely, brother. You showed me the video that you made of the Vedic planetarium with the
yes,
you're speaking of.
Exactly. It's so detailed.
India, I think.
Sorry?
I think it's the second largest building in India, and they talk about Jambudweeb and Bhumandala and all these things.
In the world. It's the second in the world. Wow.
There you go, brother. Yep.
Yeah, it's a temple that they're building where they're supposed to have that flat earth cosmology right in the middle of that structure. That structure, I think, is second biggest religious structure in the world, a Krishna temple with a flat earth cosmology in the middle. We are speaking about hundreds of meters of a flat earth model with the whole chandelier, how you say, and the representation of the sun, the moon, the realms below, the realms above, and I think, and the same as the Vedas, there are many different, and they go really deep. If we really want to, we have all the answers in all cosmologies. We have all the answers, more than we can handle, more than we can imagine. It just needs to be decoded. And I think every cosmology plays an important, every cosmology is playing a part to give that missing piece. That's what I understand too, so.
My brother, you had awesome. You had it in Flatten the Curve video. You had all the ancient cosmologies, all flat earth cosmologies. The Bible is one of the best, by the way. And the fifth canto of the Bhagavatam in the Vedic literatures, that's brilliant as well. It's a little tougher to decode, if you ask me. That's my humble opinion. It was written in Sanskrit, and you have to have an authorized brother that can really decode it. But I got a good translation, and It does not contradict the Bible in any way, in my humble opinion. And I love them both, and they speak the truth. It's the truth. So that's why it's in there. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that.
It doesn't matter which language the truth is said. The important is that the truth needs to be said, because the contamination, every cosmology is also being contaminated by the new scholars, okay, if you really look into it. So we have to take care, and that's happening with every cosmology.
You know what gets me about the story with space is it always bugged me how the stars don't change position. The parallax is 0. There's the Big Dipper stayed the Big Dipper for 14,000 years as far as recorded history. The oldest paintings, I think, in France, in a cave in France, predict Gemini and star constellations. So they don't change ever.
Correct.
And that's impossible. And they got me there. I was always wondering, how can that happen? How can that possibly happen? But it doesn't.
Well said.
It's so much easier. It's so much. Sorry?
That fact by itself disproves the globe. The globe fails right there with no parallax. There you go.
Doesn't
Space
it?
does not exist. It fails with one fact.
100%. Absolutely.
Thank you. I don't know.
Brilliant. And it fails. It fails in about 800 ways. How many red flags you're going to see, right?
And
It
it
really
touches every
does.
other. Yes, then this is a child. And how old were you? That was a child making those observations. You were a teenager or younger, right?
I was always fascinated by that one. Like, how do they not change position? That's impossible.
There you go. Right?
But like I said, I always thought God just put dust in his hand and blew out the universe. Poof, in a one poof, there we were. That was Big Bang for me.
Because that's what they told you in the schools, right? Poof.
Well, except for the God part, they told it's an infinite point of nothing. And I was like,
Right.
no, that's not what happened. God put dust in his hand and blew the universe all over the place. And that was my interpretation, because I didn't believe what they were saying, really. I thought I had to.
Yes. The average follower of God the Father, they will try and invent God. They're trying to recreate what God and understand how God managed the creation. And then they'll add Big Bang to it. They'll add the garbage science to it. And so they end up with a mix. They're mixing.
That's what I fell for.
Yeah, there you go. We all do.
I did. I did. And the whole, cyanobacterial breathing out oxygen enough to get up and walk out of the pond it found itself alive in is just crazy. Fish to monkeys to people and how about the brain and the eye? Let me ask you about this, about evolution. What came first, the brain or the eye, right? And then what happened? Did the brain say to the eye, "This is so great, I'm going to make another one because you guys need 2 eyes"?
Right.
Or did the eye sit?
And the ears all together and the tongue all in the same place.
Right. Come on, it's just.
And why didn't the eye evolve on the finger and we could see everywhere?
Right.
Hey,
he was walking on his fingers. That's
brothers. I think it's almost a satanic ritual mocking that they're doing, because it's a clown show.
It is.
Like Brother Rob said, it's everything they say it's absurdity.
Yeah,
it's ludicrous. It's a clown show. It's like a joke.
But you know what? Yeah, they have an unfair advantage because they have us as children.
Yes.
And they take us out of our house for the most important hours of every single day of our lives, and they give us so little time to relax, because from kindergarten you got to know you got to pass your color test and your number test, and in the first grade you got to pass 1+1 test, and they got us by the short hairs, left and right.
All, brother. They've been doing that forever. Like I say, they did it way back in the day too. The Darwin nonsense, and I mean, none of it sat well with me. But when you're a little kid, you answer the question on a test, okay? But none of it all seemed a bit queer to me. But when you become an adult, And like Brother Rob says, when the Lord shows you favor, then you really get it.
You too. There was no mistaking for me when I got into it. It took less than a day. No kidding.
There you go.
I was into their stuff though. I loved it. Couldn't wait. But I also believed in God though way before anything at all ever. And it took a few hours when I got annoyed to the point where I got to stop these people because they're insane.
They really are insane.
I jumped ship real quick.
There's Chilster Deluxe. Hello, brother. There's 84. Hello, people. Hi, 84. Welcome. And then we've got Free Minded. And then, yep, we got Lucas from Dublin. Welcome, guys. If you guys have question, comments, please leave it. We'll try to answer that. And guys, for sure, in the next week on Friday, we have an interesting guest coming too. He's into Hollywood. He's done a movie called Hollywood and Vine. He's written 5 books about screenwriting and script and something about finding Jesus too. It's a very strange combination because he's studied also all the Abrahamic religion and Tibetan religion and Vedic and many other cosmologies. So it's kind of a great combination, and it's one of the reasons he's going to be our guest next week. So make sure you guys tune in. His name is Ronald Farnham. So we're looking next Friday live with him. Yeah, Farnham.
Yep, Farnham. Yes, just to carry on with our discussion of we all, the humble follower of God, the Holy Father, and the Son, Jesus Christ, we want to follow them, but we also want to follow the universities and the schools. So we end up combining Luciferian structure of the cosmology with the holy cosmology of God.
Yes.
Step one for certain people might be to separate and realize that, reconcile this. Can we find, and this is for somebody who doesn't know yet, if we're introducing this to somebody new, step one, recognize that the Holy Scripture, the cosmology of the Bible, cannot reconcile with the cosmology of heliocentrism. We need to delineate that and show people that they do not, they're mutually exclusive. They cannot mix. We need to start people right there. That might be a technique. I'm just pointing that out. And that's what you said, Gene. You said that it didn't take you long to realize that there is no heliocentrism in the Bible. It doesn't exist. That might be a technique to show new people new things.
Hey, brother Rob, you laid that out perfectly in the Flatten the Curve doc. You nailed it.
Thanks. I did. When I watched that, I thought, man, that sounds great. That sounds good. I love that.
Yeah, no. This documentary, I used to, I don't like to use the word argue, but I would debate with the Globers and this and that. But it was very frustrating for me. I'm just sending them to the flick now. I'm sending them to the movie. Flatten the Curve. Go watch that. If they want to come back and talk, I'll talk. You're either going to get it or not. If you don't get it after that, Flatten the Curve, Doc. If you don't get it after that, I'm not wasting my time with you no more.
No, if you don't get it after that, just flatten yourself, like somewhere.
There you go. Hey, Cindy, that goes for someone we know. The documentary's got it all.
So soon, guys, we'll be wrapping up. So make sure you guys check because Eddie jumped out because he will be there in Ferret Radio Live for the next show. So make sure after the show you guys join there. There's some amazing guests like Eddie Alencar, Billy Zig, and Mark Hollander from the movie Flatten the Curve. All 3 authors together. So it's going to be quite an interesting live. So make sure you guys be there after this. And if somebody can leave a link here in the chats, that would be great. And we're gonna have the final words before we say goodbye. And thank you to RTS for this live event and everyone watching there. So, Gutai, your last words, brother. Thank you for being here, brother.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I learn a lot from all you brothers. You guys are the best. Like I say, and I say this sincerely, you're actually spiritual warriors. It's a spiritual war we're in, and you guys are on the forefront. I got nothing but love and respect for every one of you. God bless. God bless you.
Right back at you, brother.
Thank you, brother, for being here and coming forward, because that's also going to help more people to come forward and give their truth. So it was really a pleasure to have you here, brother. Keep the truth,
Thank you so much.
spreading the truth, brother. So much nice to have you here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you for your awesome feedback and all the support, brother. So it's great.
Absolutely.
And Jeannie, you want to add some last thoughts, please? Jeannie, are you there?
Vika, how are you, bud?
Yes. Yep. Last thoughts for tonight here?
Thanks for having me on a great educational experience again. Wonderful. You guys are the best. We are warriors. You are. Thanks for having me. Have
Pleasure,
a great
brother.
night, everybody. Thanks for listening. I hope you come back and share Flatten the Curve.
Yes, sir. Rob, thoughts?
Okay, here we go. Last thoughts. The truth of flat Earth is obviously truth, but it leads us to the truth of the Holy Creator, the Holy Father, the Holy God, the Father and Creator, and His Son, the Holy Son, Jesus Christ. That's the bigger truth of flat Earth. Flat Earth leads us to God and His Son, Jesus Christ. Truth to them, amen. Vikka Draziv is a flat Earth guru, and the globe is as always, a mathematical, geometric, geospatial, geophysical, and in all other respects, a scientific absurdity, and it's planned that way. Therefore, it is a deliberate scientific fallacy.
That's what is flatten the curve, guys. Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, Rob. Pleasure like always. And thank you guys, everyone in the chat. Make sure you join us for our next live. We're planning to do at least 2 lives a week, but maybe something in the middle could pop up for surprise. So make sure you subscribe here on Vikka Draziv Truth in Plain Sight and other groups where we are sharing this live. Thank you guys and see you guys soon. This is Vikka Draziv signing off from HelioPychosis podcast live. Bye, guys.